when we build confidence, when we maximize confidence, we minimize competence usually.
Yeah.
It's almost inevitable that the process is inversely proportional. So the more we push, we boost, and more we build or we value, or we actually believe to be confident, the less, the more we decrease competence.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then eventually, well, the conspiracy theorists are all about that. They are super confident,
Yeah.
but they're not competent at all.
No.
When you highlight that, how silly the fallacies are, they think you're just trolling.
Yeah.
It's not even a matter of pride.
I wanted to talk about actually parents who think that their children are special, because I know that sometimes I sound like I think that my children are special, but I think it's very vague, and I think it's a very difficult one to. I do know what you mean when we say children are special, and I know that I am pleased with the way that I am bringing them up. You know, there's a pleasure that comes from the work that we've done together that then contributes to the change. I mean, when the girls were 4 and we started sessions, that my relationship with the girls was terrible. I was semi-frightened of them because they were creating so much chaos, so much noise. I felt exhausted by them. And now, as my mind has improved and they obviously get older and their comprehension is better, you know, there is a level of pleasure that I get from the relationship. When I talk about things like their intelligence, I don't mean like they're intelligent, like an adult being an intelligent person. I mean more their ability to use their mind because it's not oppressed. I've been thinking about this a lot because I think it's difficult to not, you know, you get those moments where you're like, wow, you know, this is cool, and they're cool, and then, you know, they're nice people. But then the specialness is in comparison to what other people are doing or other children, and I think my comparison is more towards where we were before, and my idea of how I would like my relationship to be. You know, when you have before you have children, you imagine certain things happening in your relationship, and one of my main things was the ability to talk with them. I do think that school affects other children in ways that is not pleasurable to be with. You know, if they're in an environment they don't know where they are, they get bored quickly, they get aggressive quickly, they're less curious. They don't. I mean, certainly here in France, yeah, in England it's a little bit different. I do notice that they're a bit nicer to children at this age. They go on to be a lot meaner in secondary school, I think, in England. But in primary school, they're much sort of they make things more child friendly. But still, the highly competitiveness, the highly sort of wanting to punish each other, it's very unpleasant to be around, and I detect it a lot in schooled children, particularly. And then me and Marcello, you know, we talk a lot about. I used to like children until I had children, and now I don't really like other people's children because actually other people's children are just mini versions of other people and their way of thinking. So when you're comparing, it's like you're comparing, but it'd be like me comparing myself to other people. I don't necessarily like other people. So generally, as in like not, you know, when you're kind of like faced with other people's conditioning all the time, it's not necessarily pleasant, even though we are social. It's a paradox.
Yeah, but I mean, like, there are many people and parents, since now we are talking about children, that are prone in a way or another, directly or bombastically, to think and claim and actually believe that their kids are special. But what they're not prone to comprehend is what they mean by special. What is funny actually about the term special is that only recently the term special, recently meaning the last probably 200 years or something, because starting from the age of enlightenment, so the 300 years ago, more or less, only recently the term special became associated with the meaning with the conventionally known, such as something different. And more recently, the last probably couple of decades, the term of special also became associated with people that are, yes, different, but not better. They have some cognitive inabilities or some impediment, or and so that's why they call it special needs.
Yeah.
But the very origin of the etymological origin of the word special, it doesn't mean, never meant something different. Special comes from the term species. So, and also means the individual, that an individual that belongs to the same species. So that's what the original meaning of the term special meant. That's completely the other way around. Like that person belongs to our species, call it humanity or Homo sapiens or whatever. That was what the original meaning. There's nothing to do with particular kind of genius characteristics or talentuous difference, and therefore had nothing to do with comparison.
Yeah.
Then it became mainly in the West, and thanks to the evolution of individualism. No individuality, individualism are two different things. Individualism is ideology. And they became also throughout the Illuminism, the Age of Enlightenment, it became the something associated with the current meaning. And in the last 10, 15 years, thanks to the internet, and then it skyrocketed into something that deranged into some kind of like collective narcissism, or and then we know the story, like and then up to the unbelievable, up to the dysfunctional and pathologically dysfunctional, such as there are people that in the New Age community really believe their kids are not just special. They have even something else, because special means something too vague.
Yeah.
It's the indigo kids, people that have different abilities, or they are more genius, or they are even, then up to the absurd, like with alien blood and stuff like that. Like, as a matter of fact, but New Age movement, New Age ideas aside, the phenomenology that happened in the next 10, 20, 30 years, but let's say particularly the last 10, 15 years, is something that most people ignore. And what I'm talking about is that kind of conspiracy, popular belief that autism increased dramatically in the last 30 years, particularly in the last 10 years. So they call it the autism epidemics.
Yeah.
And of course, they fail to comprehend that is not true. that more and more people were born autistic. What is true is that the stigma has been progressively dismantled about people with autism, and the diagnostic parameters increased dramatically, and that's why it became more easy and with less stigma to diagnose people with some kind of level of autism. That there are many different levels. There can be a significant level, or that is actually an actual cognitive inability, unfortunately, and a very super mild level that is not even detectable by the many, or maybe people will be prone to consider a certain person like maybe a little bit a weirdo, or maybe not a weirdo, just a particular person, or even like a particularly significantly different person for whatever reason.
Yeah.
But that is a form that belongs to the spectrum of autism. Like a person like that is, for example, Elon Musk. But nobody calls Elon Musk autist. Of course, a person like that is the actor, how it's called, Anthony Hopkins.
Mm-hmm.
He has that. And many other people. So we are not really we cannot be super precise with the diagnostic. I don't like that much because we cannot really monitor. We cannot. I think we should actually eliminate the term diagnosis from the spectrum of mental. The understanding of mental, not issues. That is okay. But mental characteristics, psychological characteristics. I think we should eliminate the term diagnosis because it contains in itself a stigma. Mm-hmm. So, for example, if we claim a person is being diagnosed as an introverted person, well, the way it sounds and it gets perceived by the many is way different than just claiming that person is an introverted person, and that's it. Yeah. But if the person is being diagnosed involves that the person has some kind of mental problem that can eventually be cured. Mm. And cannot be cured, like autism cannot be cured, is genetic. Yeah. We cannot cure autism, and we have to regulate that when it involves severe cognitive problems, because the person cannot fit in the society, and that is a problem. But when it's mild, that's not a problem. It's actually good, because usually people like that provides some kind of betterment in a way or another.
Yeah. Well, what I've found is that, because I have a few friends whose children have Asperger's, autism spectrum, and what I found is that they actually respond very well to anti-memetic interaction. So rather than the non-belief realm of interactions.
So that is a very delicate field, and we have to be extremely careful. So that when I'm saying all of this because when that is the case, the parents are nevertheless prone to eventually classify that as a speciality, yeah, instead of reasoning about what that is really all about. Yeah. Because of course that doesn't appeal to them. So if the child is particularly introverted, then better to call the person special. Yeah. If the child is particularly extroverted, then better to call the person special. But the problem is with labeling a person with that term is that labeling that person with that term involves necessarily and inevitably a form of comparison, because it has to be in relationship with other people. Yeah. I mean, if you live alone in a cave somewhere in a lost island and there are no kids around, the only kids that are around are yours. How can you call them special, really, if you cannot compare? So,
and how can you even diagnose them as particularly extroverts? You'd have to have other children who are less extrovert to compare your child to, unless you're comparing it to yourself.
That's true. Also, parents, when for whatever reason they either are not prone to compare their kids to older kids, which is rare, but maybe they live in the middle of nowhere or something. Then what they do, they compare their kids with themselves. That is a mistake too, because what's the purpose of comparing? And this is actually pretty common. How many people are prone to say, "Oh, my child is 13 and he's thinking in a way that when I was 13, I was not able, was not even something conceivable." Because my child is capable of maybe building a very basic type of video game, and he's only 13. And when I was 13, I was barely able to set up a fire. Well, what kind of reasoning is that, really? That you were less resourceful because things have changed, and therefore the thinking skills capable of building a video game that are quite available right now, even by watching like a couple of hours tutorial online, they were just not there, not even in a library, something like 30, 40 years ago.
Yeah.
So that is a comparison with the evolution of the human skills through time. That makes no sense, because if we invert that reasoning, and as we should, as I will propose when that arises, then we can easily dismantle that reasoning. But what I mean by this is that, okay, and what is that your child is not even able to even approach in terms of thinking skills, in terms of performing tasks that you were instead capable of achieving when you were that age, such as, for example, just because it came to mind, my grandmother. I remember when my grandmother was teaching me how to build a chair by only using grass.
Mm-hmm. Really?
And I completely forgot it, unfortunately.
That is a shame.
It's a massive shame, because I tried to, well, not with a strong motivation, I have to say.
Yeah.
I tried to find some material online inherent in that skill, and I was not able to find something like, I was not able to find it, really.
Wow.
And maybe it's probably available in some kind of a specific library about the old manufacturing techniques of furniture or something. Is definitely there, but
do you mean like green grass, or do you mean like willow? Do you mean like what you make baskets from?
Yeah. But okay. So I remember that she has been teaching me for a while this technique of collecting particularly long blades of grass.
Yeah.
And a particular one that is pretty strong, and then that kind of branches that you need to build baskets, and then the way to intersect each other to build this basic skeleton and structure on which then you're going to build the chair using the same material, and combined with how it's called the fish glue. So the glue you can extract from the fish, which is also
seriously,
yes.
Treasures.
So that was fantastic, really, and the final product was pretty impressive. Something that probably people will buy for a couple of €100 now in some ethnic shop, because they keep on doing that in certain countries, particularly Indonesia and India and Thailand.
Yeah.
And losing that skill is very much a shame. So,
Yeah.
but all this stuff aside, is that the so-called old people they were capable of doing something that the modern the kids cannot even possibly conceive because they think it's just some kind of magic, and vice versa. So that is a normal process. It's not something we don't have to blame something, or we don't have to go back in time, or all the rest of that. But it's very important, nevertheless, to analyze the pros and cons of having new skills but losing all the skills, and vice versa. So all of that has nothing to do with being special. But if a person has a very poor relationship, a very poor thinking skills with the way the person processes information and decodes everything, the behavior, the reality, the skills, the capabilities, then it becomes a pretty, in a very childish form, but it becomes pretty easy to classify a person's personality and behavior as special, and to actually believe that.
Yeah.
And that is just one element that is not really problematic in itself. The other elements are problematic because the reason why parents are prone to call their kids special are not based on that, what we just described, but are based on other reasons. And they are based on selfish reasons. What I mean by this is that many parents really want to actually believe, and also they want other people to believe, their kids are special because that validates them as parents.
Yeah.
So they haven't failed as parents.
Absolutely.
Actually, they built something, human beings that are even better than themselves as educators.
Yeah.
That is, which is wonderful, but that is not necessarily the truth.
No.
So that becomes
whereas that's not what I'm thinking about. That's not what when I'm thinking about their intelligence, or when I'm taking pleasure in my girls, it's not that gives me pleasure. What gives me pleasure is more the willingness to transform things. So, like, for example, we had a nest of birds, and 3 of the birds died. And then there were 2 or 3, we're not sure, little birds that were left. And one of them was the last one. And Maya was stood in front of the nest having a look. And this this bird hopped onto her hand. And then for the rest of the afternoon, he was not ready to fly properly. So I said to her, well, stay with him so that cat doesn't eat him, but you let him learn to fly. So he spent his whole day hopping around and flying and hopping around. And in the end, she ended up manifesting mothering feelings for this baby bird. Because she felt like she was caring for it. And when it finally flew away and disappeared, she was highly upset because she had started hoping that she was developing enough of a connection with this wild bird to be able to for it to want to stay with her. And so she had she was massively upset. But through conversations, through obviously talking about the reality of things and everything, what she was able to transform it into was, for the first time, being able to do a piece of sewing and sew the bird onto a piece of material. Yeah. So the upset and the frustration and everything that she was that she had she ended up learning a new skill because she couldn't sew before at all. But suddenly she was able to do a piece of embroidery that was actually very good for a first piece because she had put so much care and attention into that. And for me, that was a very good way of building her serotonin and being able to make peace with the image and the idea that she had been building and transform it into a piece that she could then keep. And I thought that was a very good skill psychologically. That gave me a lot of pleasure to go through that with her.
So the other thing is that calling a child special is not just meaningless, but also ridiculous.
Yeah.
But when the child, that specific child, is factually better than, let's say, the average kids the same age.
But I don't think I don't think that she is factually better. But she is now factually better than she was a few days before.
Well, what I'm trying to say, and that is a Judeo-Christian block.
Okay.
Why are we shy? Unless we are making stuff up, which is common. But why are we shy to classify? No, sorry. To highlight that a child or a person is better than another person. Why? I know this sounds controversial.
No.
Because, oh my God, and this and that.
Well, I think we have to be careful. I think you have to be better at something or better. The subject is missing. What are you better at?
Yeah.
You can't just be better. The whole thing of you.
Yeah, of course.
Then, of course, yeah, you're better at this than I am. Whatever.
Yeah. Well, okay. Wait a minute. Now, wait a minute. That can we understand? If a person says that this person is better than the average people's age, then how can we understand if that person is making stuff up like a silly generalization for whatever reason, or the person is actually highlighting the reality of things? Well, what you just said. If the person just stops there, okay, this person is better. Why? Because I say that. Okay, then you're a fool.
Yeah.
Because that is a hyper generalization that doesn't involve any subject, any argumentation, any explanation, nothing. It's just a claim. And if you stick to a claim, then you stick to your opinion, then you're a fool. Because eventually that person is not better, it's just average or so on. But if instead you don't limit yourself to that affirmation, and you are quietly, seriously, intelligently willing to explain why that is better, not by generating a list of comparison and stuff, but a clever, not a confirmation bias based, a clever, analytical, rational, objective explanation of why this is better than that, then why shall that person be shy about that? Because I think we should never be shy about that, because it's not about mocking other people or saying, you are average, you are dull-minded, you are simple-minded, and this person is wow. No, that would be silly, that would be stupid, also arrogant, and goes nowhere anyway. But if instead we're going to explain why this person is better, what we actually mean by that provides an opportunity to other people to actually achieve the same level, not as a competition or something, but to just generate other betterment. Now, why are we prone to say that car is that car factually better than the other car or not? We have no problem with that. We are not going to be shy about that, and unless it's based on personal opinions, personal experience. Oh, that car is better because I had that car for 20 years of my life and never had a problem. Well, but that is your personal experience, doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
But if instead it's factually better and capable, willing, intelligently able to explain, to analyze, and without comparison that is not required, then The point is that that car is actually better than the same model, same kind of type of car, the same brand or another brand, and that's the fact. That's the reality. So, what follows is, okay, and then what can be done to make that car even more better? And then what can be done to make the other average car, same model, same kind of spectrum of car, better and better and better, not via imitating the better car, but by understanding what can be done. What's wrong with that, really? And why can we do that?
There's nothing wrong with that, but I think that parents in particular do not welcome that. They don't like that.
Like if an adult human being is prone to cling to support and validation, and unfortunately there are many like that, and not particularly young, persisting with that results into building a fake confidence and also a form of addiction that is based on shaping that person's reasoning in a way that sticks to something that is 10 times or more better than what the reality of that person's cognition actually is.
Yeah.
And there are many people that go through it, particularly these days, particularly because we have digital cell phones. I see this all the time, and by all the time, I actually mean all the time. And I will even say that something strange happened throughout the last few years. This phenomenon appears to appeal more to people that are not relatively young. I mean, they're not teenagers.
Yeah.
They are in their late 30s up to even 50s. And that is extremely concerning. It's not just something that we should classify as immaturity or silly or narcissism or all that narrative there. It's actually preoccupying.
Yeah.
Because there is a progressive and increasing detachment from the reality of what a person actually is. But look at the conspiracy theories. Fundamentally, that is the game. The conspiracy theorists do not care really about the subjects of their beliefs. I'm even prone to say they don't even actually have stronger beliefs. And why? How can I say this? Because their beliefs seem to change dramatically depending on what is the new available conspiracy. Now, people were into the political conspiracies a year ago, or flat earth, stuff like that. They almost forgot all of that because now they have more food. So that looks like something that the memetic infection that they of course they welcome with no problem. It is allowed to switch the subjects, and it's very interesting and also preoccupying, because it doesn't matter how powerful the belief is, and doesn't matter what the belief is. What's important is just to get food for the memetic infection to replicate itself. Fundamentally based on priorities that are not the beliefs themselves, but are priorities such as feeling better than what you actually are, in terms of smartness, in terms of knowledgeableness, in terms of thinking skills. But as a matter of fact, if you believe that the war is coming, the Illuminati are going to get you, the vaccine is going to kill everybody, and this and that, and mind control and stuff like that, what are you going to do about it, really? Aside from the sitting on your chair in front of a computer screen all the time.
Yeah.
What are you going to do about that? Are you going to war? No, because that is too inconvenient. I don't want to lose my comfort zone. I don't want to lose my fear. They preach about freedom, and they are so stuck in fear, and they love it, despite they claim that they want to be free of fear. So what is that all about? That is all about the fact that we culturalize individual speciality.
Yeah.
Not as a precise scheme or an agenda or something, but almost spontaneously. That is the new modern memetic infection, which I see operating everywhere. And there are many other factors that are very, very, very complex. Now, by increasing our individuality from a sociological viewpoint, not necessarily a personal viewpoint, but it's better to start from a general viewpoint to comprehend things better.
Yeah.
By maximizing individuality that is not done properly, that is about maximizing individualism. The ideology of individuality is not about building healthy, competent individuality.
Yeah.
It's about building a mean parasite that takes over the whatever form of reasoning was there prior to that infection. Now, by maximizing individuality as I defined it, individualism, we also maximize all sorts of things, such as the sense of solitude, the sense of being insignificant to the world, the frustrations of not feeling that we are somehow providing some contribution.
Yeah.
Because eventually we are doing nothing but our monotonous job and our monotonous life a day after another. But we want to feel that we are special. So the meaning of speciality mutated dramatically in the last 10 years.
Yeah.
20 years ago,
you see,
the meaning of speciality.
I would have thought special would have been like valuable, or that's my special necklace, or that's a necklace that I value. That when I think of special, that's what special means to me. But special is, like you say, is now in comparison. When you say special, people are thinking you are comparing to others, and trying to be better than them. Yeah.
If you take like in a very simplistic form, of course, then it's way more complex.
Yeah.
The meaning of speciality in the 80s was about certain role models, primarily that for the guys was more about kind of the macho man sort of, or the superhero or something like that in the Western world. Or the car, the sport car, the nice car, or the American dream, eventually North America, and all those very shallow role models of speciality. That was more about a form of conformity, and for the girls was more about maybe the kind of Barbie style, or the look, or the fitness, and so on. Now, something happened, and to the I would say more the males than the females, the meaning of speciality has become something has to do with smartness, looking smart, winning the argument, being knowledgeable. Now, many females are also, it seems that they are also prone to cling to that, to valuing that, but not as males. So males are definitely more into conspiracy stuff, for instance, UFO and all this stuff, or political conspiracies and so on. And some females, definitely more females than 30 years ago, are also into that. But females are still there and more in the captured in the name of speciality that has to do with the look, the appearance, the sexiness, and the models, like the shopping, all this sort of stuff. So that in a female gender form, that meme seems that it evolved with minor modifications. And there is also in the female dimension more like a process of valuing smartness, but more like the feminist way. That is, they usually don't take care much about that. It's not about being knowledgeable. It's usually about parroting some concepts that they picked from somebody else, like talking blindly without any reasoning about patriarchal tyranny or stuff like that. And males instead, about the males, the concept of speciality became more a matter of being smart. If I look smart and I actually feel smart, I have a validation from saying something smart that is usually conspiratory sort of stuff or political stuff, then that is my new psychological reinforcement, and particularly online, that is what makes me feel not just smart, but special.
Yeah.
And it levels also.
Because if you are thinking about things a little bit differently, and you are thinking about things a little bit more deeply, and you do categorically know that that is better, and you do want to express that somehow, well, then it's very complex to be thinking about doing that and not engaging with the speciality that involves. Like, I think that is a thing that is present when you're expressing yourself, but mixed in with the Judeo-Christian of how dare you be expressing yourself, and who do you think you are so special that you think that you can say something, that's not a copied meme. I think it is. It can become very intense.
Yeah, but also requires. It does require labels. And even memetic uniform. So what I mean by this, so eventually I have to call myself a truther, and that is definitely more common among males than females. Or I have to maybe show some tattoos.
Yeah.
That is an archetype of individualism, of course, and rebelliousness too, but also has to do with tribalism.
Yeah.
So all this sort of stuff. This memetic mutation of the meme of speciality has changed dramatically, and more among men than women throughout the last 30 years, but let's say last generation, but particularly the last 10 years, because it's skyrocketed with the matter of social media in particular, and the coming into being of digital selves. Now, for example, what I also see is that more and more, the kind of category of people we used to call nerds in the 80s, that kind of like geek sort of guys interested in all this details and science and Star Wars and all this sort of stuff, but fundamentally harmless. Not that many of those people now are switching into truthers, so conspiracy nerds. Mm-hmm. That is also concerning because they have usually those people have struggles with solitude for plenty of reasons. They are not really good with socializing. I mean, not digitally, in person. They don't really have many friends. They struggle with like finding a partner, all the rest of that stuff, and therefore they build a lot of anger. And then when they find a way to release that anger by building a picture that is the picture of what in reality they are not, and building confidence, investing confidence in that picture that is what they are not, many people are doing this right now, the last decade, but particularly right now. And I repeat, investing confidence in something that doesn't exist, that is the picture of what you're not. Well, the more you persist with that, investing that non-existing speciality, eventually successfully, because online, you're not there physically. So you can say something clever. You can steal some clever quote without mentioning the author.
Yeah.
You can put here and there a mix of healthy food, the pictures of healthy food is eventually not even yours, and then pictures of some clever quote by Einstein, and then your posts that are about conspiracy stuff, and conveying an image of you that is 10 times more clever than what you actually are.
Yeah.
Because in reality, you're miserable eventually. Now, of course, it's a terrible drug, but very efficient. Now, by investing confidence there in something that is non-existing, they obviously disintegrate competence in regard, psychological competence in regard of comprehending their state of mind. And I think it's terrible because in the long run, usually not the short run, they really devastate their mind and they engage a process of deterioration. I saw this so many times, like just because I just was talking about this yesterday. There was this guy from Canada that is obsessed with Bigfoots.
Oh God, I always find it funny when I come across somebody who has a belief in something that I imagine people stopped believing long time ago.
And then what are you going to do? Are you going to still stuck there in that constant fear, the 5G, the virus, the new virus, that the police state is going to get you and stuff like that? It's terrible, my gosh.
Yeah.
But they don't see that. All they care about is that by remaining involved in that fear that doesn't even exist, if not only their minds, they feel special, they feel different. They call it, I always call it the blue pill or the red pill, I don't know.
I don't know.
I never.
I don't know.
So I think the blue pill is what wakes you up, and the red pill is what keeps you asleep or something like that. But then back to remain asleep. Then they don't even reason about that. That concept comes from the movie Matrix. Yeah. Now, if we watch that movie, the guy Neo takes the blue pill, assuming that is the right one, and he comes to acknowledge what the reality really is. But who really wants to do that? So, if you watch that movie, the concept is that the humans have been taken over by the machines. The machines created this matrix that is completely virtual, where you live your life, is a form of fake free will, but you live your life. You can perform your decision making, you can build your success, or you can face your mistakes, and so on. And what is really better, if we want to rationalize that out, the machines took over. Is game over, end game. So why would you like to wake up in order to fight the machines? You cannot possibly fight them because they are just too evolved. They are going to beat you. And to not do that, you have to live underground in a terrible situation with artificial air and disgusting food, and trying to fight something you cannot possibly fight, but then you are woke. And therefore you are smart. I rather prefer to live in the Matrix then.
Yeah.
What's the difference really? Then that Matrix and the life we live is the same, just that is digital, and our life is not digital. But what's the difference really? Cognitively speaking, to the brain is the same. But no, I think all those people that preach stuff about the blue pill, they are the same people. They want to take the blue pill because they want to remain with their Nikes, their McDonald's, their pizza in the evening, their comfort, and so on. Not underground, trying to become a warrior fighting an impossible war they cannot possibly win, which is, by the way, the narrative of the series Matrix. they defeated the machines, but then actually was, or even that was something digital. Never happened. The machines are still there. So that's just a wonderful life. But I'm walking. And therefore I'm clever. Can we see how sad this is, how pathetic this is, how miserable?
Unfortunately, this is exactly the kind of thing that makes me start to hyperventilate. Just talking about it, it stresses me so much. I don't think it's just that level of very fast psychological self-masochism. Yeah, I can feel myself. Like, it's even I'm talking now because I'm like, slow this down because this is very, it's very stressful for me to listen to this kind of. You think you're getting out of a hole, and yet all you're doing is digging yourself into the same hole, but faster. Is extraordinarily stressful.
Yeah, but they privilege something else. The minimal level and masking semblance of being special is to them more important, even more important than the possibility to, as they will call it, going down to the rabbit hole. They are not even experienced about that. Like, that takes responsibility. Am I really? If you want to fight Al Capone in the Chicago in the 30s, you do not only talk about Al Capone. You really have to go to war. That takes responsibilities and a very high risk. They don't want that. All they want is to cling to the illusion of speciality, even sort of knowing that eventually it's not really quite true, it's not really quite real, but doesn't matter. It's like a drug, because that at least keeps me, if I am one of those people that wants to do that, it keeps me detached illusionally, of course, from the reality of what I actually am. So my miseries, my problems, my mediocrity, my incapability to get something clearly, and so on. And that is not really something new. The methodology is certainly new. We have no conspiracy beliefs or crazy ideas in the Middle Age. There were other crazy ideas, but were more simple and probably not really much conspiracy, because people were more simple-minded and they had way less information to process. But the memetic behavior is the same. That's why we invented the many religious concepts, such as the chosen one, all this kind of concepts. Yeah. And then the memetic behavior replicated itself through the history and switched into something slightly different, like when it's not about a fate being chosen, it's about nationalism and the pride of being born in a certain area and therefore gaining automatically the privileges provided by that area that is eventually not even true, but they are represented by a meme flag we carry around. It's the same. It's the same form of infected cognition operating in different ways depending on the available macro means that are there interfering and conditioning the individuals in a certain culture or area or village or family. So, long story short, and to make it actually very simple, but doesn't mean that we have to stick there. Why do we have, generally speaking, the propensity to cling to the process of building ideas that make us feel special? Well, making this in a very simple form, what we all have is the need to feel safe. That is the top one, first priority we all have and share. a share in terms of not actual sharing, but in terms of having that in common. Also because we are genetically wired to cling in the first place to the need to feel safe. So, now, physically safe, but that is not difficult to comprehend what that means. So, our shelter, the food, and the money, and so on. But then psychologically safe, and then we don't quite know what that actually means. We don't even care, actually. It's not a school. Nobody talks about that. But nevertheless, it's there. And it's there, first of all, biologically. We cannot escape from it. Who is there that doesn't want to feel safe as a priority? There must be a crazy person, constantly drunk, or under the effect of some psychotropic substances. Already an idiot, a mad, super masochistic person, a dysfunctional person. There are many, unfortunately. But generically speaking, we all want to feel safe. What we don't want is to comprehend how we are interfacing ourselves with that primal and also necessary need, because without that, the brain cannot function properly. So it's a massive human paradox. It's probably the human paradox. If I care about feeling safe, and feeling means not having enough data about the subjects of my need, I care about that, but I don't care at all about analyzing what I'm doing with that. Then, of course, what is going to happen? I'm going to put myself in a process of searching. And when that will be done, I will find something. All sorts of things. My parents as a model, or a model to fight.
This is linked to the 10 reactions that we were looking at. The searching for something to attack modality, the laziness, the ad hominem, all of those things that we were. This is what because I did a mind map on top of in my lounge about this, and it is all about basing it on the need for security and and safety. And then when somebody else challenges you, you think you found something to attack. No? Isn't this linked?
Yeah, in some way, yes, it is. Yeah. But I think I don't mean to keep it simple. I don't like to keep things simple, but to have the simple summary, I think is very important sometimes.
Yeah.
And again, to make it very simple. Now, if we will all agree with the affirmation that our primary need is to feel safe. That who can dispute that? Really?
Yeah.
We also, not all, but probably many people will agree, imagining this being a public discussion, with the fact that we don't really care much about what we are doing, the way we relate with that need. So maybe we have an agreement about that too. We will also agree with the fact that since we don't quite care about how we relate with that need, we are going to find surrogates.
Yeah. Well, if it's a feeling that we don't really understand already, and we're already going to find a solution before understanding it, well, then of course we have to find surrogates, because if the computation is a surrogate for the actual understanding, and therefore the solution is going to be a surrogate for the actual for the understanding, which would then dissolve the problem. So it's a one piggybacking on the other.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, if we comprehend that all this stuff, and we are very much prone to search, find, and cling to surrogates.
Beliefs.
Can be all sorts of things. That the list is never ending. Can be, as I say, imitating the parents, or discharging them as role models, and therefore finding other role models, and doing that rebelliously, and blah, blah, blah. Can be beliefs, usually that's the case. Can be isms, can be group identity, can be faith, can be spirituality, can be new age, can be conspiracy, can be plenty of things. The list is really almost never ending. But that's not the point now. The point is that the surrogate, by definition, means something that doesn't match the primary need.
Yeah.
So if my need was to get a car, and instead I get a bicycle, that doesn't match the requirements, the primary need indeed required.
Yeah.
If my primary need is a safety, and I find a church, this is obviously a memetic surrogate.
Yeah.
So the surrogate is going to take over often.
Why is the surrogate going to take over that? Because it never satisfies, so we try to do it more or faster.
But first,
the
because
surrogate doesn't think, so it's not really the surrogate that's taking over. It's us who are making the surrogate take over more because we're using it as a panacea.
The reason why the surrogate is going to take over, whatever that is, eventually we can drop that, whatever that is, and then we are going to find another one. It's because who is going to cling to a surrogate that is not does not provide a production dopamine, or call it pleasure, call it feeling comfortable with that, call it a sense of realization, a sense of awakening, a sense of finding out more information, a sense of being entitled, a sense of authority, whatever that is. If I'm not interested in a church, and I think it's monotonous and ridiculous way to cling to something, of course I'm not going to cling to the church. I'm going to cling eventually to some spiritual ashram or something.
Yeah.
I'm not interested in that either. I will cling to some political ideology.
Yeah.
Or I'm not interested in any of those things. I'm going to cling to building my own individual reputation, not necessarily as a career or a professionalism, but as a person. So imposing that on other people, building my authority, that's my surrogate. Now, we don't have safety psychologically by building knowledge. That is a mistake many people claim, many people think. We don't build the psychological safety that is required by clinging to authority. Because all of those things have to do with psychological security. Psychological security involves implicitly that there must be some danger, some enemy there, ready to ambush you and to destroy your achievements. Therefore, that is not safety, that is dependence.
Yeah.
Dependence to my authority I built through the years, my knowledgeableness, doesn't matter if that is fake or not. It's personally sad to me to acknowledge now some people that I sort of know, and I came to know them that maybe 10 years ago on social media. They are still there spreading, preaching, posting all this, the conspiracy stuff. They were there. They were captured in 10 years ago.
Yeah.
I
find that incredible that somebody would stay with the same thing for so long. With almost no even improvement on their beliefs. So they didn't even inquire in specializing themselves so that they could understand more about that belief somehow. I don't know. It's very curious. And it's very similar to my eating disorder. It's like there's no new element to this. Well, if anything, I am reducing my care about cooking and reducing before it was about cooking good food and becoming better at cooking, but not with understanding the science of cooking. Before it was just creating better or more food or whatever. Now it's more, why is that? Because it's almost calming to try to understand the science of the cooking. But it's like you've eaten pasta, once a week for 40 years, and yet you still want to have whatever it is that you want to have. That hasn't changed over. Why does that remain the same? Why does that stay the same kind of psychological obsession, stroke, hold over me? But when you look at somebody who's looking at conspiracy theories, it's based on the idea of knowledge. So you kind of like think that they would want to know more about that somehow. I don't know. Bring more to it to give it more validity. I don't know.
But again, to make it simple, for a moment, I expect that the reason why people remain, because we all change our minds every day.
Yeah.
Hopefully, in an evolutionary form based on betterment, not by going back and forth or all this sort of stuff that is deleterious. It's really deleterious. So being here, then there, then going sort of back, then getting confused and trying to find something else. So depending of the influence exercised by the people you have around, that is being a chameleon, but in the malevolent definition of the metaphor, and being very, very subjective to all sorts of ideas, depending on how you trust the people and their ideas. That is definitely deleterious, because in the long run, you end up being like super confused and incapable of having your own thinking. But paradoxically enough, I have to say this. Even if the structure of your thinking is really messed up and fallacious, such as a faith will be, is certainly better than not having any structure at all.
Yeah, it's
like a new age person, because that really, realistically, is something that can easily summon severe mental disorders and then eventually even deranging into mental illness. So at least having a structure, even if that is Islam or Christianity or I don't even Scientology, which of course I don't support at all, but at least provides some kind of sense, illusion of stability that, despite its complete illusion, at least is somehow beneficial to your brain, because your brain could not care less about what is real and what is not. But if you don't even have that, then you're really summoning the formation of your own quicksand, in which the only way you have to remain not to sink is to depend on to other people you have around and whatever the ideas are. But that is very painful, because the people can change and or they can leave you and then you need somebody else. But all of that aside, that is not, well, many people are like that, but it's the minority of the human population, clinging to a stronger mindset for a very long time, if not forever, in a very simplistic form, just to say that in a simple way, is just the outcome of we never cared about analyzing what we do, what we were doing, with the need of psychological safety. And because we never cared, that feeling psychologically safe became a dependence to psychological security. And that's it. I know it's very simplistic, but it's true. Now, people that had the same mental propensities, or call it mindset, or call it way of thinking, whatever that is, for 10, 20, 30 years, they have been clinging to that for a very long time, because that became a form of absolutely authoritarian state of mind based on psychological security. And that's why those people are usually the kind of people that have to complain all the time, because there must be always an identifiable enemy over there. The enemy is required in order to validate and to keep and to preserve and to keep call it cemented, aggregated, whatever their mindset is. There must be an enemy. So if it's not some conspiracy stuff, the Illuminati, the government, the aliens, or whatever that is, then it has to be something else. If they are sort of religious, then there must be a devil or something evil. If they are not like that, then even, I'm afraid to say, even people into science, or that grew up that way, or became that way, which is okay, I totally support that, but many of those people perform the same mistake, cognitively speaking. They cling to that blindly. That is not even what science is all about, because science is not about clinging to facts religiously. Facts is not the priority in science. The science cares about facts, but marginally. Science is not about the building an authority of knowledge. It's about investigating all the time, discovering, and then eventually, like always happens, by the way, it means reforming knowledge. That is what science is all about. It's not what most people believe science is. Finding what is truth, what is true, what is fact. It's not that. It's not that. That is just a side effect, a consequence.
Yeah.
Which is good, of course, is good. So we don't know. So that we know what is mumbo jumbo and what is a verifiable reality. But that's not the priority of science, and therefore it's not the priority of scientific thinking. So what I'm saying regarding this subject is that many people who cling to science do not have a scientific thinking. That's a problem. That's why we have scientism. Unfortunately, there's a problem. Many people who cling to science also don't have a preparation in critical thinking, by the way. There's another problem. And most people that cling to science don't have any skills about differentiating between what is believing and what is theorizing. That requires no believing.
Yeah.
They don't have those skills. Therefore, they believe. And that's why, particularly in the field of social and cognitive science, that field is getting more and more messed up, heavily ideological, and prostituted by the narrative that is known as publish or perish. How many articles are there that with the title scientific study says, and then you find out that the scientific study was based on 2 students, pupils of some the privileged by some academy professor.
Yeah, I don't know very much about that, but I mean, my personal experience is that I've tried to subscribed to a couple of scientists who I thought, I read a few of their articles and I thought, okay, this looks good. And then I subscribed to their future articles that they write. And my email is just bombarded by study after study after study after study. I think, you can't make these many publications, like daily publications, 3 or 4 publications. How is that possible? So obviously I've unsubscribed now because I just think I can't read that much. God.
It also depends on like what the study is, because if we talk about molecular biology, well, that is verifiable.
Yeah.
So if I'm interested to find out what is true, what is theory, and what is assumption, that then I should go for it. So I should go through the comparative analysis of different studies, and particularly sticking to the aim of finding the replication of the experiments, the studies that have been conducted, that are capable to validate the theory, because the study is, the empirical procedure is replicable. Well, but that is that science, that is physics, that is biology, that is nuclear science and technology and all of the stuff. But when it comes to studies that have to do with cognitive science, all of that cannot be tested in a lab. So the matter of replicating the study in order to validate the study just goes out of the window automatically. Yeah. Doesn't mean they are not reliable study, but just because they are a reliable study doesn't mean they are 100% accurate. And believing they are accurate just because this person is PhD, the other person is the expert of that, and the other person is the emeritus professor in some university in the world, well, that's very little meanings. It doesn't validate, but I can't stand this stuff in science. Because the beauty of science is that science has no authority. So I understand a person wants their own credits, so fine, you are a PhD, you are an emeritus professor, you add all that your biography is there, okay, fine. I don't mean to be sarcastic, I want to acknowledge that, but all of that has to be remain detached from whatever your theory is. Should not be used as an academic authority in order to achieve more consensus aimed at validating your theory ideologically. That is not science. That is ideology. And also other things, greediness, the intellectual selfishness, all of the stuff. And that is based on psychological security. So if I'm going to criticize you, then you're going to tell me, but you're not qualified, I'm a PhD. And so what? I'm not a mumbo-jumbo. I tend to be pretty accurate because I value that in the process of criticizing. So, but anyway, that's another topic. The fundamental thing here is, I like to repeat this. It's very simple, actually.
Yeah.
It's the surface, but it's not just because it's the surface. It's not superficial. It's just the surface. That the point that we all want to feel safe.
Yeah.
The other point is that most of us don't care about what that means, what we are doing with that, how we are interfacing that. And therefore, that what remains is a thing. Remaining in a very simple explanation. A feeling. I feel the need of feeling safe. So what can I do about that?
Well, find out what safe is first. And then we're talking about psychological stability. the ability to handle, to the ability to, well, for me, the ideas that I have about safety are to do with not overloading the brain so much that it can't cope, finding some sort of betterment so that you can think more clearly and create less problems, and having, well, continued betterment in your thinking processes. That it's not, psychological safety is not really a single thing. It is a continued thing. And it's interesting because I often think about it in relation to New Age thinking, where it's on a constant path of never-ending nothingness. You know, you can be running and working really hard and you can never get anywhere. But with psychological stability, the more you work on it, the more it's incremental. The betterment is incremental. So I think that the healthier psychology you can build, that is safety. No?
Yeah. But the point is that how can we build safety?
Well, superficially, you reduce your distractions, you reduce your beliefs, you relate to the reality over the belief. You reduce your implicit bias. Good luck. You reduce the things that are creating problems, for starters.
That comes with training, and not valuing the training. Of course, we are going to value the training, but that can wait. Applying the training is way more important than valuing the training. And why? Because, like you said earlier, applying the training is performing competence. It's not primarily performing confidence. Then, of course, the confidence will follow.
Yeah.
Of course, it will. Automatic is obvious. But, you know, when we are competent about something, I'm not talking about necessarily professionalism and stuff like that. When we are psychologically competent, and we perform that competence, are we also thinking somehow significantly about us being confident? I don't think so.
No.
There is nothing wrong with valuing.
Yeah.
And values, or valuing values and stuff like that. Yeah. No matter who is valuing whatever.
And here, the value for me is the psychological betterment.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is that the process of valuing should never be the priority.
But what gives you the impression that I am prioritizing that?
I never say that.
Okay. Am I?
No.
Okay. So no, I don't understand.
I don't think so. But no. There will be. I will say that. I will highlight that if I detected something. No,
right.
Sorry.
So you're saying that, but not because you think that that's what I'm doing.
No. Yeah.
Okay.
So what happens when value becomes the priority? What happens?
Well, we become all idealistic about it very quickly.
Exactly. And also the consequences of that are what usually? People don't listen anymore. Not just artistically.
They start to make a lot of psychological noise, so they can't listen anymore.
Exactly. So there's a whole ramification of unpleasant elements. A decay of listening, the quality of listening, or not listening at all, a decay of reasoning, an increase of fallacies, an increase of the speed through which people think and speak.
Yeah.
And all of this, all of that is obviously indication of the fact that the person prioritizes valuing. That's obvious.
Yeah.
So if that instead is not quite there is no evidence of it, there is no indication of it, then eventually the person is doing something else. The person is not prioritizing valuing, but the person is actually, I call it a perform, I don't like this word, but just to use it, performing, activating, initiating, operating, applying. I like this word, applying. Applying applications. Applying what? Applying that person's psychological competence.
Yes.
So there is a good, decent, accurate administration of all sorts of things. The speed through which a person thinks and speaks. The structure of the language. The structure of the repetition when that is required, and often it is required. The process of understanding, that is all about, that is not about valuing, that is about applying. So what is important the most? If I value critical thinking, what is important the most? To value that, and I keep on preaching about that, and unfortunately most people involved in critical thinking, that's exactly what they do, or to actually apply that.
Yeah, to apply it.
To apply that, of course, to apply that is not really quite dopamine-based, because it's pretty hard. You increase enormously.
Yeah, it was very counterintuitive to go from crying hysterically to learning to sew. It was incredibly counterintuitive.
Of course. So if you're competent and you apply that, it's not going to be all about pleasurable things. Yeah. You're going to go with the flow. You're going to, particularly if you do that with other people, you're going to kind of scratch some people's ideas, or even kind of disturbing them. Some people will feel maybe offended. Other people will instead react with ways that will frustrate you, or will deliberately aim at distracting you, proving you wrong, and da. But you want to be competent. What is it you are valuing there? Nothing. You cannot value your competence.
Yeah.
You can only exercise it. If you instead want to value your competence, and that is the top one priority, and then it's very likely you're going to be a mumbo jumbo. And how many are there? Like people that claim to be actually believe they are so competent about this and that, but they're not competent. They're confident, including the 100% of the New Age preachers and gurus. Not all of them, but many of them are confident. Actually, the more confident they are, the more successful they are.
Yeah.
Because confidence is necessary to exploit the gullible people.
Yeah.
They are going to love you.
Yeah.
Because you become a role model. Doesn't matter what you say. You can say all sorts of nonsense, but you are confident. Mm-hmm. In the so-called field of intellectuals, is the same. Look at people like Jordan Peterson, or many others, like I was called the other guy. The guy that speaks super fast is a very right-wing political commentator, Ben Shapiro. Those people are super confident, but all they say that they often shoot a fallacy after another, but they are too fast that what people catch is this person is super confident. That means that he's super knowledgeable, and therefore the person is right.
Yeah.
I didn't understand anything of what the person said, but wow, I cannot perform that.
Therefore, they must be more knowledgeable than me.
Exactly. So that means being confident, not being competent. How can we identify when a person is psychologically competent? Well, that's not that difficult. When a person is prone to repeat, but not as a mantra, with a different argumentation, when a person is capable of just stop and listen to the interlocutor or to themselves, and then restart again. There are indicators there. That also, when you see the person is not really full of himself or herself, so that person is not valuing personal psychological competence. Nevertheless, if you ask the person in a second moment, do you value that of the person? Of course I do.
Mm-hmm.
But not when I apply that.
Yeah.
But so if I teach geography, how can I value geography the very moment I apply geography? I'm going to get distracted.
Yeah.
So what's the purpose? To be distracted because I'm enthusiastic, I'm all over the place, and so I'm so high because I'm so passionate about the geography that I'm so all over the place. I'm teaching nothing then.
Well, this is the problem with a lot of teachers, is that particularly with the new version of teaching children, with the idea that it's exciting to learn, and so then producing some kind of level of entertainment for children to learn with. It's terrible.
You should tell them that, not tell. If you highlight them that, oh, that's just a dual you don't have not even a PhD.
This is another thing that came up, is the self-soothing, the level of self-soothing that we all do in different ways, and I think that joy and this kind of like confidence boosting attitudes, and obviously self-valuing and what have you. These are all kind of self-soothers. It's almost like a constant dummy in your mouth that is like soothing ourselves. If we imagine that learning and working at learning is hard work and then some sort of punishment and everything else, then we're going to have to bring in some kind of, like you say, surrogate solution to that, which would be, therefore, we must impregnate it with ideas of enjoyment and fun and excitement. If anything, it is just making it a lot more stressful, because if we believe that it is hard work and miserable and not fun, well, then we're not going to enjoy anything about it. It's terrible.
But when we have to understand something and we don't struggle, that is not really a good indication. It's not that I support the struggling, of course, but if we don't struggle and everything goes like a fluid, like an oily surface, that's an indication that we are embarking to magical thinking or wishful thinking, exactly. And all sorts of things.
Yeah.
Of course, like there is a certain process of struggling there. That's absolutely okay.
Yeah.
It's a definitely good indication. Like I don't mean to be cliche or rhetorical, but the struggle is the way intelligence has to evolve itself for the better, and not just in the Darwinian sense that is adaptation.
Yeah.
Adapting can also be a struggle, but nowadays it's no longer a struggle like it was when we were mainly Darwinian. It's because it's pretty easy to adhere to a group identity, for instance, or to pretend that our knowledge is impeccable and matches the truth.
Yeah.
That is a form of non-Darwinian, but rather entirely memetic adaptation. And that's why, by the way, a memetic understanding is absolutely salient, because it helps us to understand what that is, what that does, and what the malevolent consequences of clinging to that produce.
Yeah.
then if people struggle with that in a way that does not involve also a process of understanding the nature of the struggle, then I don't even want to talk with those people really, because I already know we go nowhere, and the phases are always the same. So first there will be opposition, then there will be this kind of annoyance, then there will be attack, and then there will be disappearance.
Yeah.
And so what's the purpose?
Yeah.
Sorry, I rather prefer to understand how to transcend that instead of understanding how that human behavior that unfortunately is super common activates itself and replicates itself and manifests itself, because that is nothing but accumulating frustrations. And I repeat this because I think it's very important. What I really think the priority is, at least to me, the priority is not to just acknowledge how human fallacies perform themselves. That is important too. But that is more something that I value in terms of understanding and study and comprehension. But what I prioritize is the comprehension of finding ways to transcend that.
Yeah.
So that eventually we develop, I'm going to say this term despite I really don't like it, but just to say this, we develop a methodology in thinking skills that is going to be beneficial to us, not because we are special or better, but just because we are more inclined to improve our thinking skills instead of adapting them.
Yeah.
And then eventually can also improve other people.
Yeah.
And what's wrong with that, really? I think that is how we should be if we really want to go somewhere in the future as a civilization.
Yeah. I agree.
Individually, too.
Very much.
So I actually will propose these things, and of course the understanding of this is very difficult. It's nearly, I'm afraid to say, it's nearly impossible to convey stuff like that on social media. I know that I do that on my own social media accounts almost every day, but not because I'm a special person, but there is no engagement that people don't understand because that is not a good platform. It's not their fault. Sometimes it is. At least that is always the same. Like if you have in front of you a platform, a landscape of asphalt, and you have some seeds in your fist. At least throw the seeds instead of dropping them and putting them into the garbage. Probably nothing will happen, but maybe something will happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, but definitely, the platform of education is the best platform to work with all this stuff, and that is very hard.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be the hardest. It's almost like we talk about what are the most unhealthy areas in society. Well, we know that family is the unhealthiest, but then schooling systems are not very far behind. I don't believe that schooling systems can be very much healthier than family systems. So if we're bringing this into education, and these are educators who've maybe started, a university professor has likely not just started as a university professor. They probably started in some kind of level of schooling system and then gone up. I don't know whether people just start at university level. I imagine that they work their way up there somehow. So they're heavily indoctrinated into the system.
Yeah, but the problem with university is that when people access university, they are around 19, and that means that they are already heavily conditioned.
Yeah.
And they come from a scholastic environment that doesn't value any of these things, eventually, even if they enter a particularly progressive university, or they are lucky enough to come across particularly critical and intelligent or intelligently critical academic university professors, that is always just too late. And not to mention that university is a heavily ideological field.
Yeah, I agree.
And that is a problem. I think introducing non-ideological people in the university is almost, if that happens, is almost a miracle. Is very unlikely to happen.
Yeah.
They don't want that. But what I can predict is that so we don't want to keep university formation separated from AI evolution, because that will make no sense at all. So at a certain point, AI, not AI, I mean not digital AI, but AI computer machines designed to assist the university in general, the lessons and so on, such as the IBM the debater, the machine that assisted the debates, spotting the fallacies. That will, sooner or later, that stuff will enter the university. That's absolutely good, because something will change. But actually, it would be even better if that will enter at least the high school.
Yeah.
And not just the high school, the institution, but also it will enter the domestic environments.
Yeah.
I don't think that's
science. People are listening to it on YouTube, isn't it? It is already. People are interested in that
somehow. You should imagine like during a Christmas dinner party, we come up with a gift that is the same gift for all the people that are present there in the future, and the gift is a tiny device that is a debater, AI system debater.
Yeah.
That aimed at correcting a logical fallacies. So I don't know what's going to happen. Probably everybody will be upset, because then we are going to propose also to activate the device right there. But I mean,
sponsored by Diego Fontanive.
It would involve some fun too. And including myself, I want to expose myself to the same, so even if that was my idea, because I'm biased too. But that after the initial perplexity and oh my God, and what the hell is that? Maybe we will have a good memory of that party, really.
Yeah.
That we want to stop there. Then that will become domestic. So, oh gosh, how can I perform a dominant fallacy to a machine? Or a strawman fallacy that is going to correct that too?
Yeah.
I thought this is not really science fiction. I think the technology is already there. It has to be. I mean, there's a lot of work to do, of course, but in the next 10 years, will be likely and hopefully available in the market, and not just in the schooling system.
Yeah.
I hope so. I think we should invest in it. I think we should understand the value of that, and that will help. Not in a form that the AI is going to be our savior. No, that is going to be an assistance aimed at reminding us how we should not just listen to the machine there correcting our fallacies, but to apply that for ourselves.
Can you imagine all of those children who are prone to writing a diary, or prone to talk to each other endlessly about their little problems, prone to wandering aimlessly. if they're talking to a machine like that and it's identifying their fallacies and biases, can you imagine just giving that to a teenager who is struggling with their life generally? What a gift!
Yeah, it is incredibly important.
Particularly if they can do it privately, privately talking to that machine, like privately reading a book. I also privately talk into my debater. It'd be fantastic.
Well, it's better than giving kids a Siri.
Yeah, of course. God, my girls love Siri.
Siri. See, is a knowledgeable device. It's not based on competence, and it's not based on analytical information processing. It's just a knowledgeable device.
It's just a Google. That's all it is.
Yeah. There's also actually Siri is Apple.
Yeah.
And Alexa is Android.
No.
And there will be an evolution of that, but that it's not. I don't think it's good for a child. I mean, it's practical eventually at home, but it's more like for entertainment.
Yeah.
And it would be nice to have something way better than that, like a debater. And the side effect there, which I predict, is that particularly intelligent kids will become more prone to rely to the debater instead of their own parents, which is probably good. Fantastic. But then it depends on the parent how to participate to that instead of remaining detached.
Yes.
Also, the other thing is very important: the kid should never develop a sense of authority given to the computer AI device.
Yeah.
But I don't think that is a problem. But we should definitely invest. I think that is actually a compulsory measure and tool we really have to go through in order to help humans to improve their thinking skills, because I don't see that happening without an intervention of that kind, since it never happened, and despite our IQ seems to increase at 2 points every generation, that doesn't mean we are becoming better in terms of thinking skills.
Yeah.
We are getting better in terms of processing information and performing more complex tasks, which is okay, but we are definitely not becoming more intelligent. Actually, there is evidence we are getting more dumb and more lazy. So I really don't see that an intervention like that. I think is super important, and I don't see any other alternatives. Considering how critical thinking doesn't work, it's a lost cause.
Yeah. And an app version of this would be very easy to distribute, because, I mean, here in France, at secondary level, so when they turn 11 or maybe a little bit older, I think maybe 14, they all get iPads from their schools. That being an app on there would be very easy to distribute.
Yeah, but I'm more inclined to promote something that is not an app, because an app is in a device where there are other apps and that can be distracting. It's better to have a physical, independent. For a kid, it's pleasurable to have imagine like that movie. How is that movie? Actually called AI. It's a very old movie, Steven Spielberg movie, where the AI is actually a toy that is a teddy bear that is not particularly intelligent, because the purpose is to be just a toy, but it has some kind of reasoning there. So imagine if a child has an actual toy, not particularly childish, that can speak and can interact as a debater, with the other members of the family and moves around. So the kids certainly value more, they improve their affiliation to something when that something can provide also stories and can provide something that is morphologically pleasurable to the kid. So it can be an animal, can be a dinosaur, can be a robot, can be whatever. And that means that it uses, not abuses, the child's limbic system and inherent procedures in order to generate some stimuli that are then aimed not at activating entertainment, but stimulating the prefrontal cortex. So the purpose fundamentally is that we all function in a way that is based on our having our limbic system informing our prefrontal cortex, and that is the way we are designed genetically. It would be nice to invert that. So it would be nice to have the prefrontal cortex informing the limbic system in the first place. So preserving, of course, preserving instead of controlling our emotions, but our emotions will be informed by logic in the first place, and that will be actually revolutionary. Also, and particularly in regard of the way we are interfacing ourselves with current digital AI, that is entirely informed by the human limbic system and not regulated at all, if not only for commercial purposes, or selling data. That is the exactly reason why we have all the conspiracy nonsense, fake news and stuff. Because modern AI is primarily informed, if not entirely, by the human limbic system. It would be nice to have digital AI primarily informed by the prefrontal cortex. That would be just wow. That we will all become at some kind of like PhD levels or something. Without going to the process of university studies necessarily. Well, that's a big claim, but it's just I'm using that more like kind of a metaphor, but not 100% is a metaphor. That would be nice, but I don't see anyone investing in that stuff right now because the priorities are others, such as like boosting the economy, believing that we will always have like a never-ending economic growth. It's not going to happen. Nobody's talking about reforming education. Now, giving the students the iPads is not reforming education. It's giving students iPads. That's it. So they can maybe play around secretly with their TikTok apps and making silly videos.
It's very difficult to study a book because all of their books then become digital. So a book that was maybe an A4 large book that you opened out to A3, they have to zoom in and out to all the sections. So it's not actually helpful in that respect. It's very difficult for them to, so everything has to be simplified so it's easier to read on the iPad, so it's actually reducing the quality.
Yeah, I mean, it's good to have technology at school, but that has nothing to do with improving education. Sorry, it's just the providing technology also to make the students learn technology skills, which is okay, but there's nothing to do with doesn't increase understanding skills. But only the technical ones, but that's it. And it's also convenient because economically speaking, having an iPad or a tablet is way more cheaper than having the old way. I don't know now, but like when I was a student, with the students had to go to school with the back paper, uh, with all the heavy books. That was terrible.
Yeah, we've all got an Invicta.
Or all the photocopied books, the thousands of copies of stuff, not to mention the use of paper. Now we have everything can be in a single device organized that is absolutely cool and cheaper and better in many ways. But still that has nothing to do with implementing thinking skills.